Groupthink and group dynamics are critical concepts in understanding how groups make decisions and how individual behavior is influenced by group membership. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people when the desire for harmony or conformity results in an irrational or dysfunctional decision-making outcome. Coined by social psychologist Irving Janis in 1972, groupthink is essentially a process of flawed decision-making that occurs when a group is deeply involved in a cohesive in-group, when the members striving for unanimity overrides their motivation to realistically appraise alternative courses of action. Janis identified several symptoms of groupthink: illusion of invulnerability, creating excessive optimism and encouraging risk-taking; collective rationalization, discounting warnings and not reconsidering assumptions; belief in inherent morality, believing in the rightness of their cause, which ignores the ethical or moral consequences of their decisions; stereotyped views of outgroups, negative views of the enemy make effective responses to conflict seem unnecessary; direct pressure on dissenters, members are under pressure not to express arguments against any of the group's views; self-censorship, doubts and deviations from the perceived group consensus are not expressed; illusion of unanimity, the majority view and judgments are assumed to be unanimous; mind guards, some members appoint themselves to the role of protecting the group from adverse information that might threaten group complacency. Historical examples of groupthink include the Bay of Pigs invasion, 1961, and the Challenger space shuttle disaster, 1986, where decision-making was severely impaired by group pressures. Group dynamics refers to the systematic study of group behavior and processes. Kurt Lewin, a pioneer in social psychology, first coined the term. It encompasses the ways in which individuals affect groups and the ways groups influence individuals. Key aspects of group dynamics include roles and status, norms, cohesiveness, conflict, and decision-making. Understanding group dynamics is essential in many real-world contexts, such as in organizational settings, where it can enhance team performance and employee satisfaction. It also has implications in educational settings, therapeutic groups, and social movements.
A famous example that encapsulates both groupthink and group dynamics is the ill-fated decision to launch the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986. This tragedy is often cited in discussions of groupthink and serves as a poignant lesson in group dynamics. On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, leading to the deaths of all 7 crew members. The disaster was the result of a faulty O-ring seal in its right solid rocket booster. Notably, engineers at Morton Thiokol, the contractor responsible for the solid rocket boosters, had expressed concerns about the O-rings, especially in the cold weather forecasted for the day of the launch. Groupthink elements. 1. Illusion of invulnerability. NASA management and the decision-makers involved in the launch exhibited an excessive optimism and confidence in the shuttle's success, despite the technical concerns presented. 2. Collective rationalization. Warnings from engineers about the O-ring's potential failure were rationalized away. The success of previous missions despite the O-ring issues reinforced a false sense of security. 3. Underestimation of risk. There was an underestimation of the severity and likelihood of the failure of the O-rings, partly due to the pressure to maintain the scheduled launch date. 4. Pressure on dissenters. Engineers who expressed concerns about the O-rings faced implicit and explicit pressure to align with the consensus for launch. 5. Self-censorship. Those with doubts about the launch decision may have minimized or withheld their concerns, influenced by the overwhelming consensus for proceeding. The Challenger disaster also demonstrates several aspects of group dynamics. 1. Roles and hierarchy. The hierarchical structure of NASA and its contractors played a significant role. The opinions of high-ranking officials carried more weight, while the concerns of engineers were downplayed. 2. Communication breakdown. There was a failure in effective communication within the group. Concerns raised by engineers were not adequately communicated or taken seriously by top-level management. 3. Decision-making processes. The decision-making process was flawed, failing to adequately account for dissenting opinions and risk assessment. 4. Organizational culture. NASA's organizational culture at the time, with its emphasis on meeting schedules and a history of successful missions, contributed to a false sense of security and an underestimation of risks. The Challenger disaster is a powerful example of the consequences of groupthink and dysfunctional group dynamics. It underscores the importance of open communication, risk assessment, and the value of dissenting opinions in decision-making processes. This incident led to significant changes in NASA's organizational structure and decision-making practices to prevent similar tragedies in the future. This examination of the Challenger disaster provides a detailed example of how groupthink and group dynamics can interplay to lead to catastrophic outcomes, emphasizing the importance of these concepts in understanding organizational behavior and decision-making.
If you're finding this lesson valuable, you can take your expertise to the next level. Join over 27,000 students at the Institute of Professional Psychology and earn your professional certification in this field. Scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description to access the full curriculum, workbooks, and your accredited credential. Let's get back to the lesson.